Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Tactical Frog FX Diving. This watch is available from watchdives.com for $209. You can use the discount code WR4K to get $10 discount off any watch over $250 on watchdives.com. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in this black plastic pelican style case. I'll show you the interior. As you can see, both halves of the pelican case are lined with two foam panels, so it does a good job of protecting the watch in shipping from any damage. I like these black plastic pelican cases. They do a good job of protecting the watch. They're very durable and practical. With regards to the items that comes with the watch, this is the owner's instruction manual. It's in English, clear concise diagrams, and it details the operation of the movement used, which is the Seiko NH35A automatic. One gets a plastic Tactical Frog warranty card, and one also gets another warranty card, which is Watch Dives. I'm pleased to report, as with all watchdives.com watches, this is covered by a 3-year international warranty, which is very good. And lastly, one also gets this Tactical Frog tag, as you can see, and it has a plastic tag at the other end. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Tactical Frog FX Diving. The watch is clearly an homage to the Tudor Pelagos FXD. The Tactical Frog FX Diving is available in 3 dull colour options, blue, black and green respectively. Of those 3 versions, this blue dial, blue bezel version is my personal favourite. So with regards to dimensions, we have a 42mm case diameter. We have a 50mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 13.5mm and a lug width of 22mm. The Velcro strap is 22mm at the lugs and 22mm at the buckle and tang. It's straight and parallel, it doesn't taper. Good attention to detail, because we also have a titanium buckle which is signed with the Tactical Frog emblem engraved to a good standard. Nice heavy gauge to it, and also no sharp edges, no burrs. They've done a very good job of replicating the Pelagos FXD buckle used on the Velcro strap. Now the fabric is very well woven. Nice stitching to it, no loose stitches, and although it's a thick Velcro strap made from nylon, it's actually surprisingly soft and supple, so very comfortable. Nice ribbed finish to the weave, to the nylon, and I like the contrasting grey centre stripe, so very good quality. The Velcro is very well stitched, so no loose stitches around the perimeter of the Velcro, and the quality of the fabric is very good. So it actually looks and feels very similar to a Pelagos FXD Velcro nylon strap, and Tactical Frog deserve full credit for not cutting any corners and using a poor quality strap. So with regards to the rest of the specification, we have a flat sapphire crystal with blue tinted AR coating on the underside, and the blue tinted AR coating does an excellent job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the flat sapphire crystal. They've made the correct decision by using blue tinted AR coating versus clear AR coating, because the blue hue of the AR coating complements the navy blue matte dial and the navy blue ceramic bezel insert, which is fully inlaid with BGW9 superluminova in the minute ticks and also the Arabic numerals. The colour tone match of the dial and the ceramic bezel insert is excellent, and I actually think that they've done a better job than Tudor themselves on the Pelagos FXD, which this is an homage to. I think the Pelagos FXD has a dial which is too light blue, and the colour match between the ceramic bezel insert and the dial on the Pelagos FXD isn't perfect, but Tactical Frog have actually done a better job, and which is ironic because this is an homage to the Pelagos FXD. The navy blue bezel insert and the navy blue matte dial actually match very well. There's a very slight textured finish to the matte dial, and it looks very aesthetically pleasing. Perfect symmetry to the dial layout. The proportions of the snowflake indices are very similar to the Pelagos FXD, and the proportions of the snowflake hands are very good. The minute hand extends to nearly the minute ticks on the chapter ring, and the sweeping second hand also extends fully to the chapter ring, so the proportions are correct. I like the silver printed text on the dial and also the silver printed Tactical Frog emblem and logo. I think the minute ticks on the chapter ring look more classy in silver rather than using white text and printing the dial in white, and the silver contrasts very well with the matte blue dial, so very nice execution, very well finished. The dial and handset are very well done. With regards to the ceramic bezel insert, it's got a nice matte finish to it and it's very well finished. The bezel is solid titanium, coin edge finished, and the teeth to the coin edge finishing are done very well. No sharp edges, no burrs. I like the bevel on the edge of the flat sapphire crystal, the way it catches the light. It projects slightly above the ceramic bezel insert, so it's very aesthetically pleasing. The case is solid titanium. Nice large bevels machined on the edge of the case, which mark the transition between the tops of the lugs and the flanks. Vertical brush satin finishing to the flanks, and I like the way the vertical brush satin finishing catches the light. It's very well machined and very well finished. No sharp edges, no burrs, and the undersides of the flanks of the case are also finished very well. Now I'm just going to remove the strap and show you the case back, because that's also very well finished. So as you can see, as per the Pelagos FXD, this has fixed lugs rather than removable spring bars. And they've done a very good job, because if you look at the tips to the fixed lugs, you can see they've actually machined some chamfers on the corners, and that means there's no sharp points on the end of the case to dig into the wrist, and it's actually very well finished. No sharp edges, no burrs to the flanks or the underside of the case, and those chamfers machined on the edges to the case, the very tips of the lugs, means that it doesn't dig into the wrist. So it's a very well finished case. And they've done a very good job, because the proportions of the fixed lugs are exactly the same as the Pelagos FXD. Screw down case back provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters, nicely engraved with the Tactical Frog emblem and logo and the specification of the piece around the circumference, longitudinal brush satin finishing, and it's also low profile and coin edge finished. So the coin edge finishing to the bezel is done very well, and they deserve credit because they didn't use the production cost cutting measure of a stainless steel case back. The case back is also made from titanium. So very well finished, and also very smooth and comfortable against the wrist. If you wanted to put this on a Zulu strap, it will be very low profile rather than this thick Velcro strap. Right, so just bear with me and I'm going to put it back on. Right, so let's test the bezel execution. Now, as per the Pelagos FXD, this has a bidirectional bezel rather than unidirectional. So one can rotate it both clockwise and anti-clockwise. Now it does take some getting used to, because it does feel different to a 120 click unidirectional bezel. Now for reference, this is the V2 version of this Tactical Frog FX diving. The V1 did have some problems with the bezel execution. There was play in it, so there was lateral side to side play, and also there was some back play. Now I appreciate this is a bidirectional bezel, but in between the clicks there was some back play. But this V2, they've tightened up the bezel execution, and it does feel different to a stainless steel bezel. It's a characteristic of titanium bezels. They feel more hollow, and the titanium feels less dense than 316L grade stainless steel. So the clicks are more loud and audible, and also it feels lighter in terms of its resistance, because the bezel actually feels less dense, and a stainless steel bezel deadens the sound because it's more dense. With a titanium bezel, the clicks actually ping, and they're more audible, but both clockwise and anti-clockwise the resistance feels the same. Personally, I prefer if they had used 120 click unidirectional bezel, but however I appreciate this is an homage to the Pelagos FXD, which does have a bidirectional bezel, so they've done a good job of replicating it. No lateral side to side play, and of course we don't need to check back play because it's bidirectional, but I can tell you that rotating it clockwise and anti-clockwise, the clicks have a good firm resistance. In terms of resistance, it feels very similar to a Seiko 5KX or a Seiko Turtle. That's the kind of resistance. It's actually very good. It doesn't feel too light, and it doesn't feel too tight either. It's just a very well balanced bezel. It's not as smooth and pleasant to use as a stainless steel bezel. It's a characteristic of titanium. One can feel the friction of it. The spring-loaded ball bearing underneath the bezel, which gives it its unidirectional action, it doesn't feel as smooth as a bezel click spring. And I personally prefer the feeling of a ratcheting mechanism using a bezel click spring because it feels smoother. With a spring-loaded ball bearing, one can feel the ball bearing pressing against the grooves in the underside of the titanium, and the titanium feels like it has friction rather than being smooth as per 316L grade stainless steel. So it's not as pleasant to use as a 316L grade stainless steel bezel. The titanium is lighter, and it does make it more audible. One can hear the clicks pinging but however, it does actually work very well. No lateral side-side play, and there isn't actually any back play between the clicks, clockwise and anti-clockwise. They do feel heavy. The alignment of the loom pip and triangle perfectly aligns with the 12 o'clock index on the dial. So it is 10 out of 10 bezel execution, and I'm pleased that Tactical Frog in this V2 have resolved the V1's bezel execution problems, because that did have some lateral side-side play and some back play. It was a sloppy bezel. This one is better, so the V2 has a good bezel execution. With regards to the screw down crown, it provides 200 meters of hermetic seal, coin edge finished and engraved to a good standard with the Tactical Frog emblem. So let's test the screw down crown execution. Now, firm resistance to it, it's not silky smooth. It does work well, it does feel smooth, but however, one can feel the friction of the threading of the internal thread of the titanium crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. It's a characteristic of titanium, it doesn't feel as smooth as stainless steel to stainless steel. So this has a stainless steel crown tube pressed into the titanium case, and the crown is made from solid titanium. So the titanium has more friction. One can feel the threading of the titanium binding against the stainless steel. If they'd used a 316L grade stainless steel crown, it would have felt more silky smooth, because stainless steel to stainless steel feels smoother. Titanium is more grippy, there's more friction to it. So it is well machined, it does unscrew smoothly, but one can feel the friction, and one can also feel the friction of the O-rings. Now, they've made the correct decision by using titanium because it matches the case, the bezel and the case back. Had they used 316L grade stainless steel, it would have looked more silver. So this uses the NH35A automatic. In the first position, it's the manual wind position, and one can manually wind the 35A to top it up to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. Absolute pleasure to manually wind it. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. Feels smoother to manually wind than a PT5000. Now, I would have preferred if they'd used the NH38, because that would have deleted the phantom date setting position. In the first click position, it's the phantom date setting position, and one can feel the date complication clicking over. The date wheel is present beneath the dial. Pulling it out to the second click position is the final click, and it hacks the movement. If you look at the Snowflake second hand, you can see it's possible to hack the movement to set the time precisely to the second. Nice light resistance to the 35A, no back play clockwise and anti-clockwise. Absolute pleasure to set the time. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. So let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. This is outstanding screw down crown execution. So it's not as silky smooth as I'd like, as with a stainless steel crown, but however, it does pick up, the thread does pick up immediately. Good interface between the internal thread of the titanium crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. So the crown does work very well, although it does have more friction than you may be used to with a stainless steel crown. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I'm pleased to report that the Velcro strap does actually just fit my 8-inch wrist. As you can see, there is enough length on it to fit my 8-inch wrist correctly. And that's a pleasant surprise, because I was expecting it, as is often the case with watches I review. The bracelets and straps are usually a fraction too short. So this Velcro strap will fit up to an 8-inch wrist with no difficulties whatsoever. The strap is actually surprisingly soft and supple, and it curves around the wrist very well. It doesn't feel stiff and uncomfortable, and it's a very comfortable strap. Now, the other thing that's surprising is this is only 13.5mm thick. If you think it sits too tall on the wrist, I think it's acceptable. It will be more difficult to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts because of the thickness of the Velcro strap passing underneath the case back. But if you think it's too tall, you can fit it on a Zulu strap or a single pass NATO strap, and that will actually reduce it by 1mm. But it's actually low profile, more low profile than you would expect. Very lightweight piece, and it feels very unusual because it's 76 grams. Now, if this were made from 316L grade stainless steel, it would be between 120 and 150 grams, because it is a large head of the piece at 42mm. But the benefit of it being entirely titanium bezel, case back and also case, is that it's only 76 grams on this nylon Velcro strap. So it feels very well balanced. It doesn't feel top heavy. I like the wrist presence, 42 is good. The thing to note is it does have a relatively long lug-to-lug measurement of 50mm. So I would say to you it's best suited for collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches. If you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, you may find the 50mm lug to lug measurement to be too long and 13.5 to be too tall with the thick Velcro strap underneath. But I actually really like it. I like the wrist presence. I like that it's very lightweight. It actually feels invisible on wrist. The comfort level of this Velcro strap is very good. It actually feels more comfortable than a NATO strap, and the fabric feels very smooth. It doesn't feel rough. It feels very comfortable. Flexes very well around the wrist. Now, the fixed lugs do take some getting used to if you're used to conventional spring bars, because as you can see, there is a large gap between the edge of the strap and also the cutout in the fixed case. So I would prefer using a NATO strap, alternatively a single pass Zulu strap, because that would reduce the height of the piece, and also I think a NATO strap with a thinner profile to it would wrap around the fixed lugs better. This is a thick strap. Now, it does fill in the gap very well, and it does look very aesthetically pleasing because I like the grey contrasting with the blue. But I think that this would look better on a navy blue NATO strap, or alternatively a grey NATO strap, but very aesthetically pleasing. The thing I most like about it is the colour match between the navy blue ceramic bezel and the navy blue dial. And the silver Tactical Frog emblem and text on the dial catches the light very well. It's very reflective. So I prefer the silver on the chapter ring on the minute ticks versus using white. And it really does do a very good job of being an homage to the Pelagos FXD. The proportions are very similar. Nice blue hue to the blue tinted AR coating. And I really like the way the bevel on the edge of the sapphire crystal catches the light. So it's a gorgeous looking piece. The legibility is good. Clarity is very good. And it's just a very comfortable piece. 76 grams. So very well made piece. Very comfortable. Feel good factor is good. Comfort level is good. Right, so let's do a loom test and we'll see how the loom performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, this is outstanding Superluminova performance. BGW9 on the ceramic bezel insert, the applied indices and the snowflake hands. Perfect colour tone match in blue between the BGW9 on the bezel, printed dial, applied indices on the dial and the snowflake hands. Incredibly bright. Now, this is equal in quality to Tudor Loom, or alternatively Rolex Chromalight or Seiko Lumibright. That is the level of quality, 10 out of 10. It's clearly 5 to 6 layers of application on the snowflake hands and also 5 to 6 layers on the ceramic bezel insert. The minute ticks on the ceramic bezel insert are inlaid to a very high standard, as are the Arabic numerals, and the loom pip and triangle is outstanding at the 12 o'clock position. The proportions of the snowflake applied indices are perfect. They're very close to the Pelagos FXD, and they've got a nice 3D profile, so they're very thick. The other thing is the snowflake hands are correctly proportioned, and I like the loomed snowflake on the sweeping second hand. This really cannot be improved upon. It is 10 out of 10, and it's an example to other brands of how to get the loom correct. BGW9 Superluminova is top grade. This is 5 to 6 layers, no cost-cutting measures whatsoever. And bear in mind, this is $209 US, so at this price point, this loom performance is exceptional. They deserve full credit for this. It's glowing incredibly brightly, and it will continue to glow for a good length of time. Right, so let's discuss the movement used. You'll all be familiar with the Seiko NH35A Automatic. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. It has 24 joules and it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which is used for complications. 40-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable. The stated accuracy of the 35A is -20 to +40 seconds per day. So a rather wide accuracy range. However, this one has been very well regulated and it's running consistently at +6 seconds per day when it's fully wound to its maximum 40 hours. So +6 from a 35A is perfectly acceptable, and I really like it. The 35A is reliable and well proven. The only thing I would say is I would prefer if Tactical Frog used the NH38, because that would delete the phantom date setting position on the crown. But however, the 35A is acceptable. I think the 38 would be better because this doesn't have a date complication, but the 35A is the correct choice. So I really like it. I think they've made the correct choice by using this versus another cost-cutting movement such as the Miyota 8215 or 8315, for example. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So $209 is the price point of this watch. Really, to evaluate the piece, one has to study the quality of the finishing throughout. The quality of the finishing to the case back is outstanding. The head of the piece is outstanding. The bezel is outstanding, even the ceramic bezel inserts. This watch has no negatives whatsoever, no QC issues, no build quality, no finishing issues whatsoever. Beautiful lustre to the vertical brush satin finishing, to the flanks to the case, no sharp edges, no burrs. This is an outstanding piece overall. And it's unusual because usually when I review a watch, there is something that needs to be changed, there is something that needs to be improved upon. The V1 of this watch did have bezel execution problems. There was some back play and also some lateral side-to-side play. This V2 resolves those issues, and Tactical Frog deserve credit because they've rectified that defect very quickly in this V2. We don't have any lateral side-to-side play, and there is now no back play. And bear in mind, it's a bi-directional bezel which rotates in both directions, but it doesn't feel sloppy. It's a good tight bezel execution. So they've corrected the bezel defect, and therefore the watch is now flawless. No defects whatsoever. So I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. Yes, it is unquestionably excellent quality, and yes, it is unquestionably excellent value at $209. I'm going to highly recommend it. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Tactical Frog FX Diving. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.